In episode 33 of the CySec101 training series, we're going to go through the Burp Suite basics, and this is one of the most powerful tools that is available in web hacking and pen testing, and this is a part of the web hacking module that is a part of the Cybersecurity 101 pathway of TryHackMe. And this is actually, I think, our second to last. So this is right after this one. We do have the OWASP top 10. And then after that, we will be done with the web hacking module officially. And then we can move on to OffSec and all the tools and the variety of tactics that we can use there. So super excited about this one. I think we're going to learn a lot about this one, or inside of this particular episode. We have the intro to Burp Suite, what is Burp Suite, features of Burp community, installation, dashboard, navigation, options, introduction to the Burp proxy, connecting to the Burp proxy, the sitemap, issue definitions, Burp Suite browser, scoping, targeting, proxying the HTTPS, and then example attacks. And it's a pretty big one. This it's going to be like a good video that we're going to take as an introduction to Burp Suite. So it's going to be a nice little exercise that we're going to do today. If you'd like to support this channel, consider joining Hackaholics Anonymous, the premier community for security professionals and hackers. We have 4 tiers available: the supporter, agent, guardian, and master. And each tier gets their own Discord server and early access to content. And the agent, guardian, and master levels get exclusive content, exclusive downloads, monthly Python automations, live streams with me every single month, plus so much more. And to join, you can simply click the link in the description below, or you can go to our homepage and click the join button there, or you can go to youtube.com/@HankHacksHackers/join, and you'll be able to join Hackaholics Anonymous. Now, without further ado, let us jump into the Burp Suite basics room. In this episode, we're going to be going through the basics of Burp Suite, and that's the real aim, because honestly, it's a very massive tool. There are so many things that you can do with it, and then it has the various versions of it as well. So we are going to be scratching the surface. So we're going to go through the introduction, a thorough introduction to Burp Suite, comprehensive overview of the various tools that are available within the Burp Suite framework, and then detailed guidance of the process of installing Burp Suite on your system, and then navigating and configuring Burp Suite according to your particular needs. One of the big things we're going to be talking about is the Burp proxy, which is a really, really powerful tool, a very powerful part of Burp Suite. I feel like it's like one of the main pieces, if not the main piece of Burp Suite. And this room will serve as a foundational resource for acquiring knowledge about Burp Suite. There are other videos that I have done on Burp Suite that are already existing on this channel, but we're looking at Burp Suite from the perspective of Cybersecurity 101. So just keep that in mind. If you've gone through Burp Suite already and you're very familiar with it, this room will probably be more of a refresher than anything else for you. There's going to be emphasis on theoretical content. If you haven't already utilized it, then it's recommended that you understand everything that we do today and you actually review everything in detail. If you've never used Burp Suite before, this is probably the perfect video for you. If you have used it before, you're going to get a review. That's essentially the gist of everything that we're going to be talking about today in this particular episode. All right, so what is Burp Suite? And this is a Java-based framework that's designed to serve as a comprehensive solution for conducting web application pen testing. It's the industry standard, literally. Everybody knows about it. And you can test web applications, you can test mobile applications, and even those that actually have APIs, which is the application programming interface. Simply put, it captures and enables the manipulation of all of the HTTPS requests between a browser and a web server, and then it's the backbone of that framework, that capturing, which is the proxy. By intercepting these requests, we have the flexibility to route them to various components, which we'll explore in a little bit, and then by ability to intercept, view, and modify the web requests before they reach the target server, or even manipulate the response of the server before it is received by our browser. This is one of the key things that you can do, or some of the key things that you can do with Burp Suite. So as we can see, the image is like very perfect right here. This is the client, the web browser. This is the web server, and then we have Burp Suite acting as our middle person that will capture those requests and those responses, and then allow us to manipulate those requests and those responses. So very, very powerful tool. There are several versions of Burp Suite. So there's the professional version, which is the unrestricted version of it. And it has all of these features. I'm not going to go into great detail. You can definitely read through them if you want, or you can just go through the Portswigger website and actually read more about Burp Suite. In short, the professional version is the highly potent tool, making it a preferred choice for professionals in the field. And then there's the enterprise version, and then the one that we're going to be using today is the community version. So the enterprise version, in contrast to the community and professional editions, is primarily used for continuous scanning, and it features the automated scanner that periodically scans web applications for vulnerabilities, like tools like Nessus. And then, unlike other editions, which allow manual attacks from a local machine, Enterprise resides on a server that is constantly scans the target web application for potential vulnerabilities. So there are licenses that are required for professional and enterprise versions, which means we are going to be using the community version, and that's the version that I'm going to walk you through installation so that you can at least access it, so that we can go through the rest of the exercises together. The first question we have here is, which edition of Burp Suite runs on a server and provides constant scanning for target web apps? And that would be the enterprise version that runs on a server. And then Burp Suite is frequently used when attacking web applications and mobile applications. And that's it for this particular section. So let's talk about the features of Burp Suite. So the version of what we're going to be using is the Burp Community, and it is more limited compared to the professional and enterprise versions, obviously, but it still has a lot of great tools that you can actually use for web application testing, obviously legally, and you don't want to do this without permission, yada, yada, yada. There is the proxy, the repeater, the intruder, encoder, or decoder, the comparer, and the sequencer. And the proxy is the most renowned aspect of it. Everything else pretty much relies on the proxy. It enables the interception and modification of requests and responses while interacting with the web application. The repeater is another feature that allows for capturing, modifying, and resending the same request multiple times. And it's particularly useful when crafting payloads through trial and error, for example, for SQL injection, or testing the functionality of an endpoint for vulnerabilities. Then there's the intruder, which despite the rate limitations will actually allow you to spray endpoints with requests, and it's used for brute force attacks specifically, or fuzzing endpoints. Then we have the decoder, which is a valuable service. There are other decoder services that you can use, but this captures information and can decode it or encode the payloads before sending them to your target. And there are alternative services, but doing this inside of the actual Burp Suite applications can be very efficient, and it saves time. Same thing with the comparer. It enables the comparison of two pieces of data, either the word or byte level. And while not exclusive to Burp Suite, to be able to do this inside of Burp Suite will, again, significantly accelerate your process and make things faster. And then we have the sequencer, which is typically employed when assessing the randomness of tokens like session cookies, values, or other supposedly randomly generated data. And if the algorithm used for generating these values lacks the secure randomness, it can expose the avenues for devastating attacks, which is, again, something that's available with Burp Suite Community. So it's a very powerful tool. So beyond the built-in features, there's the code database of Burp Suite that facilitates development of extensions to enhance your functionality, and it can be written in Java or Python using the Java Python interpreter, or Ruby using the Java Ruby interpreter. Burp Suite Extender module allows to quickly and easily add extensions into the framework from the marketplace known as the BAP store, enabling the downloading of third-party modules. And then certain extensions require professional license, so just keep that in mind. But there are free versions available of certain extensions, for example, the Logger++ that can extend built-in logging functionality of Burp Suite. So which Burp Suite feature allows us to interpret requests between ourselves and the target? That would be the proxy. Which Burp Suite tool would be used to brute force a login form? And that would be the intruder. All right, let's talk about installation. For the case of this video and pretty much every other video that I've done with TryHackMe, I always use the attack box inside of TryHackMe that has a version of Ubuntu Kali Linux installed on it that has a lot of these pen testing tools already pre-installed on it. So Burp Suite is actually already installed on the virtual machine that I'm going to be using. And then if you install Kali Linux directly from the Kali website, you will also get Burp Suite pre-installed with Kali Linux, because Kali Linux is literally designed for pen testing, and Burp Suite is one of the most powerful tools for pen testing. So it would be silly if they didn't have Burp Suite pre-installed on Kali Linux. In case you don't have that, so in case you don't have the attack box from TryHackMe, or you don't have Kali Linux, what you can do is you can just go directly to the PortSwigger website and just download it from PortSwigger directly. I'm already running a Mac OS, so it will detect your system or detect my system. But you can do it for Linux, Mac OS, Windows, and the Burp Suite professional version, community version, so on and so forth. So 2025.1 would be the most recent version of this, which is not the version that I'm going to be using for this particular video. I think it's one of the older versions that's available on the TryHackMe attack boxes. But these are the various releases that are available. Obviously, you want the most recent one, and you want the one that is available for your specific operating system. And you can get to this link by either just going to portswigger.net, and then you have Burp releases, that is the actual domain right here, or you can just Google download Burp Suite and just make sure you're downloading it from portswigger.net and you're not downloading it from some other third-party website. So once you have your installation file, you basically just go through the installation wizard and make sure that you download and install the version that is most applicable to you. So as we're reading this, literally they're looking at the most recent version being 2023.7. So I feel like the version that I'm going to be using is the 2023.7 based on what's going on from that screenshot. But for the most part, what you will have will show exactly what I'm seeing, plus some extra options. And then I'll give you a couple of other resources so you can learn about those options. There's a quick note here that if you choose not to use sudo during installation on Linux, Burp Suite will be installed in the home directory at Burp Suite community, like here, and then it won't be added to your environment path. So that's completely up to you if you don't want it to be installed on your environment path, or if you're using a machine that you don't think should have it permanently installed on the environment path. That's completely up to you. I do think that if it is being installed on your actual personal computer and you're going to be using it regularly, it's probably beneficial and convenient for you to also have it added to your path. Apart from that, if you just follow the installation wizard, everything is going to be pretty straightforward for you, and you should get Burp Suite available for the rest of this video. So this would be the moment in the video where I would recommend that you pause the video, go get the install file, install it on your computer, make sure you're good, and then we will run it together, and then we'll go through all of the initial screens, as well as the dashboard and the rest of the options together. All right, so let's look at the dashboard. I have this in my full screen mode right here. This is the Linux machine right here. We just get it started. It'll usually take about maybe a minute or something, because this machine doesn't have the fastest RAM because it is one of the virtual machines, so on and so forth. But while this loads, that was pretty quick. It was quicker than the last time that I ran it. So usually when you start it, the first thing that you will see will be the menu where you actually get to choose a project to work with, and then we'll talk about global settings and user settings in a minute as well. And then from there, you get to choose configurations. So that would be the first two options. And then from there, you should see the Learn menu. So if you are accessing Burp Suite for the very first time, it will show you the Learn menu, which has all of the tutorials, and it's highly recommended. If you've never been through Burp Suite before, if you've never used it before, it's probably a good idea to go through all of those Learn modules, all of the training modules that it has, so that you get like a really strong education on the tool, and you know what the various options that are available. I don't think it's going to show you everything that's available on Burp Suite inside of those training modules, but it'll definitely be a really good start for you to learn about the tool and the various elements of the tool. I'm just going to let this finish loading real quick. Oh, actually, there we go. Perfect. So it finished loading. So this is what it looks like, right? So on the community version, you can't do a saving of the project. So every time that you restart the tool, or every time that you turn it off, you exit out of Burp Suite, whatever project you were working on is pretty much gone, and then it'll restart from scratch. That's one of the key pieces of the professional and the enterprise versions. So we are just going to be using a temporary project that's going to be stored in memory. And then the next menu is using the burp defaults, which is what I'm going to end up doing. But you can also load from a configuration file, and then you can actually go ahead and configure the burp JSON file so that, or modify it so that you can actually have your personal, that's beyond the scope of what we're going to be talking about. We're literally talking about the basics of Burp Suite. So we're not going to talk about the configuration file of Burp, but it is an option that is available for you. So I will click the start button, and then it will take us initially to the dashboard. Now, I don't think it's going to take me to the actual training menu, because I think on my virtual machine and a variety of different virtual machines with TryHackMe, Burp Suite has been used so frequently that, yeah, it's not going to show us the training menu, which is perfectly fine. So if you look at the top tab right here, this is our modules tab. And if we click on learn right here, this is the learn menu. This is like the training modules that you have. And this is just what's available through Burp Suite. There are, again, like I said, there are videos that I've created on this channel where we actually do a much deeper dive into the tool, and we run various exercises with Burp Suite. And then there's a bunch of other videos on YouTube as well. So if you are really interested in it, I would recommend you watch all the other videos on this channel. And then if you want, go watch even more videos and read all the documentation and just get really good at using this tool. I don't think you will be disappointed by learning more about our Burp Suite. So in our dashboard right here, we have a tasks menu. In the screenshots that we would see in the training documents here, we have the tasks menu, we have the issue activity, we have the event log, and we have the advisory. So starting from the task, this allows you to define the background task that Burp Suite will actually run while you are using the application to do other things. So you can actually basically designate background tasks to run while you're using Burp Suite. In Burp Suite community, the default would be the live passive crawl task, which automatically logs the pages that are visited, and it's sufficient for our purposes for everything that we're going to do in CySec101. We have the event log, which provides the information about the actions that are performed by Burp Suite, like starting the proxy and the details about connections that are made. And then we have the issue activity, which is specific to Burp Professional, and it displays the vulnerabilities identified by the automated scanner, ranked by severity and filterable based on certainty of the vulnerability. And then we have the advisory, which provides more detailed information about the vulnerabilities, like references and suggested remediations. This is also available to give you a report, and this is also not available, or at least the showing of the vulnerabilities will not be available in Burp community. So issue activity is very specific to the professional version, and then there are certain things about the advisory that are not available to the community. But for the most part, this would be like the dashboard if you have like I guess a more recent version of Burp installed, or if the configuration has been designed for you so that you can actually see these menus in your version of Burp Suite. And then, of course, as we mentioned earlier, there are different ways that you get help menus or more information. And one of them is the question mark. Let's look at a variety of tasks. So we have the question mark right here in the actual tasks menu. We have the question. There's going to be a question where you can get more information about whatever that segment is. And I mean, if you don't know what it is, it would probably be recommended for you to read through all the help that is available on the question mark as well. So what menu provides information about the actions performed by Burp Suite, like starting the proxy, so on and so forth, and that would be our event log. So now let's talk about navigation. All right, so what better way to look at navigation by actually going through the navigation menu? So at the very top that we see right here, this tab, or this, I guess this section that you see right here, that is known as the module selection menu. So each one of these are technically our modules. So the target module, the proxy module, the intruder, collaborator, decoder, so on and so forth, right? So if we go to certain these, so like target, for example, or proxy, you'll see that there's another set of items that shows up at the bottom right here. And these are our sub tabs. This is just like technical jargon the terminology. So this is the actual module menu, and then some of the modules have their own subtabs, and they can be accessed through the second menu bar that appears directly right below the modules themselves, and they are specific to the module. So for example, the HTTP history is specific to the proxy, for example, and the intercept is specific to the proxy, right? And then there's an option that they talk about in the documentation here, which is the window detachment option, which is not available for me. So it usually should be right next to the help button at the top right here, where there would be a window button. And then you do that and it drops down and it allows you to like detach the dashboard or detach the proxy, so on and so forth. So that unfortunately is not available for me, and it's a little bit it's like disheartening, right? It's a little bit tough to deal with for me personally, because I would love to be able to do that, but I can't do that in the version that I'm running on this virtual machine as a test for TryHackMe, whatever. And then we have these shortcuts, and these can also be modified. You can create your own shortcuts through the hotkeys, and we'll be talking about that in a little bit. And so that's basically it. So it's like Control-Shift-D will take you to the dashboard. Control-Shift-T will take you to the target. P will take you to proxy. I will take you to intruder. And R will take you to the repeater. So if I go here, so let me make sure I'm just actually clicked onto the screen here. So if we do Control-Shift-D, we should go to the dashboard. There we go. Control-Shift-P will take us to the proxy. Control-Shift-I will take me to the intruder. So it's pretty useful if you know what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go. It's very, very convenient to be able to do that. And then there's also shortcuts for actually sending data to the intruder. So for example, Control-I, so no shift, right? Control-I by itself will take you to the intruder. Control-R will take it to the repeater. It'll send the data to the repeater, my bad. So it'll send data to the intruder if you just do Control-I. If you do Control-R, it'll send the data to the repeater, and then you'll be able to further manipulate the data that way. So which tab does Control-Shift-P switch us to? And that would be the proxy tab, P for proxy. All right, so let's look at options now. Okay, so there are two different types of settings, two different sets of settings. We have the global settings and the project settings. And the global settings affect the entire installation of Burp Suite, and they're applied every single time that you start the application. And it's basically the baseline configuration that you want for your version of Burp Suite, right? So this is it's specific to whoever the user is and what they want to start every single time that they start Burp Suite. And then there's the project settings that are specific to the current project, and they apply only during the session. And then the community edition, as we already saw when we started it, it doesn't support saving projects. So basically anytime that you close it and restart it, it resets all of the settings for the project. So we can't really just use it because of the version of community that we're going to be using. But even though you have certain global settings set up, you can actually change your project settings to be different from the global settings. So it doesn't mean that if you have global settings, you can't still turn certain things off or on based on your project, okay? Then you have the settings menu. So the settings menu can be accessible from a bunch of different locations. So first of all, we have it on the far right here. This is always going to be available. And you just click on that and it'll open up the settings menu, okay? And then there's the individual portion. So like if we go to the proxy module, there's the proxy settings button right here. You click that and it'll bring up the settings menu again, but it'll take you directly to the proxy settings. And then we have the actual button right here, which is pretty much like every other application where you just go to one of these sections right here and it'll take you to settings. So for us, it's Burp, and then we go to settings, and again, it just opens up these settings. And then you can have different types of settings, right? So you can have the user specific settings, you can have the project specific settings, and then you can have all of the settings. You can expand everything, you can collapse everything. And then of course you can search for things here. So we can do, let's say, hotkeys, right? I can search for hotkeys and it'll bring me to the shortcuts that are available for me over here. And even if I don't do that, if I actually do just key, right? So whoops, I don't know what I just did. Let me see if I can still type here. It seems like I have messed up something. All right, okay, that's better. I think I double clicked the control button and it started recording audio. That was awkward. So if we can actually even just type keys, right, it'll give us keys. Or if I do keyboard shortcut, for example, I guess keyboard shortcut won't bring it up. I think, but it was like maybe shortcut or something. Sorry about that, like that little sound. It happens when I erase everything, and then if I go one more erase, it'll do that. So sorry about that. Sometimes it gets annoying. So I do realize that it does get annoying. But yeah, so basically you can search for settings and you can search for certain things if you know what you're looking for. Or you could just browse through whatever the options are to see if you can find whatever you actually need. So that is it for our settings menu. Now we do have a couple of questions here. So let's go through the questions for the options. And I'm pretty sure I covered everything with you. So we do have, what do we have? So in which category can you find a reference to the cookie jar, right? So the best way to do that would be to just go to settings and then go over here and just type in cookie jar, right? And then it'll show you the cookie jar, and then it'll say that we are inside of sessions. So that's where you would get that answer. It's inside of the sessions tab or category. The Burp proxy is literally a fundamental and crucial tool within Burp Suite. Everything pretty much relies on the proxy. It captures requests and responses between the user and the target web server, and this traffic can be manipulated, sent to other tools, or explicitly allowed to continue to the destination. So you essentially capture the request and then it freezes inside of the web browser, and then you can manipulate it before forwarding it, or you can just explicitly allow it to continue as is. The intercepting of requests is done when you actually turn on the intercept button. So if we go over here and we actually go to the Burp proxy, we'll be able to see that intercept is already turned on. While the intercept is turned on, whatever request we send to our browser, as long as we also have FoxyProxy that's turned on inside of the browser, whatever request that we send will actually be captured inside of Burp Suite. So right now, I don't have it turned on. So I can click on FoxyProxy and I can just click on this thing right here because it's been pre-configured for me. And that's pretty much it. That means I've already turned on FoxyProxy. So now it's connected to Burp Suite. And then if I go over here and do whatever kind of search, so let's say we'll do gmail.com, let's say. We will do gmail.com. And then that request, you can kind of see that it's like frozen here. We can go over here and check to see if it's actually been captured. Oh, it's restarting Burp Suite. My bad. I should not have done that. Now it's going to take up even more RAM. So let me make sure I close that out. Okay, here we go. So this is the one that I already had open, and then we can see that it's actually capturing the requests that we have. So HTTP GET request, and it's the google.com. And it's trying to capture Gmail for me, right? And then there's the detection portal, or these are actually all of the intercept stuff that's actually happening currently live while this is running in the background, while I actually have this running in the background. Now, what I can do is I can submit any of these or manipulate any of these, and then we can go over here, and then we can see the request at the bottom right here. And then any of this data, so this is basically just a GET request to gmail.com. I can forward this data to, let's say, the intruder by just doing Control-I, and then it'll send it to the intruder, and then we can see that the intruder it's highlighting now. And if we go over here, we can see that we actually have the Gmail request that we forwarded to the intruder, and then now I can manipulate this request in a variety of different ways if I wanted to, right? And then if I just go back over here and I can essentially do this, right? So if I go here, I can click on forward or drop, which means it'll either forward this request and actually make it run in the browser, or I can just drop the request, meaning cancel the request. So if I click on forward and then I go back to the browser, it should actually try to load Gmail for me. So let's see if that'll work. So I stand corrected. Forward is actually trying to forward it to I think a different tool inside of Burp Suite. If we turn off intercept, it should allow it to load in the background, which it does. So there you go. So the intercept has been turned off, and then it actually allows us to end up at Gmail. And then if we wanted to, now let's say I go over here and I do hackers, right? And I try to log into my Gmail account. I just have to make sure that I go back over here and I turn on intercept one more time, because I want to make sure that it actually captures what I'm doing here. And I go over here, and then when I click next, now this is going to be captured, and then I got a little notification on Burp Suite right here. So this is going to freeze inside the browser, and then the request is going to be captured over here. And now we can see that we have a new set of requests that are playing up over here, and then they're for accounts.google. And if we go down here, we can see the data that is being requested to be sent. And then there's a form that is URL encoded, which means that we're actually trying to send data through the form on the web page, but Gmail is very strong with this. So obviously the form data that I'm sending is super encrypted, and you're not able to see what it is that I'm trying to do. If somebody's trying to analyze this request, they'll be like, okay, well, it's a post request, so that means they're trying to send data, and then it's to accounts.google, so most likely they're trying to log into some kind of Google service because they're going through the accounts.google host, right? And then this is the actual path that we're trying to log into right here. So it is v3 sign in, account sign in data, and nowhere in this do we actually get any kind of idea, unless we decode this information here. We don't get any kind of idea of what it is that I'm trying to log into, or this person is trying to log into, right? So that is the overall approach of just intercepting and then looking at what the data is, and then from there you can forward it to the repeater or the collaborator or something like that, and then mess around and kind of manipulate the data. If I turn off intercept, it'll actually take me to the next page, and it'll say, hey, Hank, enter your password, right? So that is the basic gist of using the proxy. So let's go look at the rest of our notes over here. This is different from what we just saw in our example, right? Because we actually had a list of links that were showing up as the intercept was on, and everything that was potentially going to be intercepted from that request that I made inside my web browser was actually showing as a line item. And then in the bottom section, we actually saw the raw code. So you can have the ability to intercept requests, empowering you to gain complete control over web traffic, making it invaluable for testing web applications. You can capture and log. So the requests that are made through the proxy by default could be captured and logged even when the interception is off. This logging functionality can be helpful for later analysis and review of prior requests. The WebSocket support, so Burp Suite also captures and logs WebSocket communication, providing additional assistance when analyzing web applications. This is the menu that we were just kind of looking at. And then we have the logs and the history. So the captured request can be reviewed in HTTP history and WebSockets history subtabs, allowing the retrospective analysis and sending the request to other Burp modules as needed. So proxy specific options can be accessed by clicking proxy settings, and these will provide extensive control over the proxy's behavior and functionality. So getting familiar with this will be very, very powerful for you as somebody who wants to use Burp Suite. Notable features in proxy settings would be the response interception. By default, the proxy does not intercept server responses unless explicitly requested on a per request basis. The intercept responses based on the following rules checkbox, along with the defined rules, allows for a more flexible response interception. So you can actually intercept responses from the web server, and it would be under the response interception rules section of the proxy settings. And then you first have to turn on the intercept response based on the rules, and then over here you actually come and create, modify, or remove the rules that you want, right? Then you have the match and replace section in the proxy settings that enables the uses of regular expressions, also known as regex, which is very powerful for patterns so that you can modify incoming and outgoing requests. This feature allows for dynamic changes like as modifying the user agent or manipulating cookies. So we can look around with this a little bit as well. There are no answers that are required for this. So let's just go look at proxy settings a little bit just to kind of play around with it as well. So we have the proxy listeners at the very top, and this is essentially the first configuration that you have to make in order for you to be able to use the proxy. So FoxyProxy, that's essentially the proxy listener that we are using, and then you just set that up, and it's for the loopback address on port 8080. It's very typical, and it's usually what the setup of that is like. Then we have the requesting of the interception rules, which is literally what we just talked about. So intercept rules or intercept requests based on the following rules. And then we actually have that over here. So based on any of these responses, so if the file extension does not match these things, then it'll actually intercept all of the responses for that. And then what do we have? Response interception rules, some more. So what do we have? So let's see what the top section was, because it sounds similar to the previous one. So if I scroll up a little bit more, let me see if I could do this. Oh no, that was it. So this was the response interception rules. I don't know what I just saw. I feel like I scrolled too much. We have two of them. So we have a response interception rule or request, excuse me, my bad. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So request interception rules is what we see over here. And then below this is what we have for response interception rule. I did think that it was kind of weird that it was already checked on. So this is not checked on, right? So intercept responses is not checked on. And then this would be the option. If it was checked on, this would be the rule that it would be captured. And then we have the WebSocket interception rules available. We have intercept client to server messages and server to client messages. And it keeps rolling to the top. I don't know why it keeps doing that. And then we have modification rules for the responses. And then we have HTTP match and replace rules that we can see over here as well. And then the WebSocket match and replace, and then TLS pass through, and default proxy, and then proxy history logging, default proxy interception, and a bunch of miscellaneous rules. So there's a lot of rules just for the proxy, right? So just imagine what all of these different things are and all of the different options that you can set up for the various modules that are available inside of Burp Suite. So it is a really powerful tool. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it. So now let's actually talk about the connection through FoxyProxy. Setting up FoxyProxy is very easy to do as long as you have it installed on your browser. And from what I understand, because, hence the name FoxyProxy, I believe it is just proprietary to Firefox, right? I think it's specific to Firefox. We need to configure the local web browser to redirect the traffic through Burp Suite. That's basically what we're doing. In order to be able to use Burp Suite's proxy, we have to be able to do that. The instructions provided are specific to Firefox. If you're using a different browser, you may need to find an alternative method or use the TryHackMe hackbox or attack box, excuse me. I'm not saying that there are no proxies, web browser proxies for Google Chrome. I just know that for FoxyProxy, I believe it is specific to Google Chrome, and everything that I've done so far has been on Mozilla Firefox when it comes down to Burp Suite. So just kind of giving you a little heads up over there. So first you would install FoxyProxy, and you would do that through the basic installation, which is available through the add-ons for Mozilla.com, and that's the website right here. So addonsmozilla.org, excuse me. And then under extensions, you can see FoxyProxy, and then you just download the extension and you install it. And then the next thing would be to actually go to the options, right? So when we go to the browser right here, over here, you can actually click on the little icon, and then you can go to the options that's available right here. And you click on options, and it'll open up the options for you. And then it's fairly intuitive, right? The rest of it should be fairly simple. So over here, this is the options menu, and then you can go to proxies, and then we can now add a proxy. and then you just fill in the basic information. So the title, which in this example, it was the burp title, country or whatever, all of that stuff is all good. The host name is what's important. So the host name in this particular case is the 127.0.0.1, and that is the loopback address. And then the port number would be port 8080. And that was what was the installation was for the Burp suite. So you can see it right here. So you have Burp, that's the basic name of it, 127.0.0.1, and then port 8080. And then this needs to also be configured in the let me just close this out. This needs to be configured inside a Burp suite in order for this to actually work, right? So if we go over here and we go to proxy settings, and we can see that we have this very basic first one that we have here. And if I just click edit, you'll see that this is it, right? So this is the binding. It's binded to port 8080 because that was the port that was selected through FoxyProxy. And then loopback address only is the address for 127.0.0.1. You can loop back to all of your interfaces to be able to capture all of the traffic from every interface on your machine, which will be a lot of traffic, and it'll be a lot of stuff to sift and sort through. Or you can loop back or capture a specific address. 127.0.0.1 is also under the specific address list, but again, it's the loopback address. So if you just do the loopback only, it'll automatically just select the 127.0.0.1 as the address, and then this is what it's going to look like as the interface that's selected for it. And now you can actually use FoxyProxy. So if we go back over here, we can basically just kind of reaffirm those instructions, right? So the menu that we saw was a little bit different from this, but essentially as long as you're under the proxy section, you can click on add and you'll be able to add one. The title for it could be anything. In this case, it's Burp because we're using the Burp suite application. So we just want to know that this is for Burp. The proxy IP address is 127.0.0.1. The port is 8080. And then this is what the options look like. And then you click save. And then once you want to use it, you can see that that was basically what I did, right? I just went over here and I clicked on the Burp button, and then you can either disable it or you can choose one of the interfaces that you had. So for me it was Burp. If I click disable, it'll just be turned off, and I can just click out of it and it will be turned off. It should be turned off. Let me make sure that it is turned off. Okay, there you go. It's turned off. And I can click on it again and then click on Burp, and it'll say that Burp has been turned on, and now we are good to go. Then when you actually go to the Burp suite, you want to be on proxy, and you want to make sure that intercept is turned on as you already saw, and that should be it. So, and then you can just test the proxy, open Firefox, try to access a website, which is what we just did. And then the home page for this particular page, your browser will hang, meaning it'll just freeze, and the proxy will populate with the HTTP request. Congratulations, you've successfully intercepted your first request. And when the configuration is active, the intercept switch is on, your browser will hang when you make a request. That's what that means. It'll just freeze. It'll kind of stay stuck. Be cautious not to leave the intercept switch on unintentionally, as it can prevent the browser from making any requests. And right-clicking on a request in Burp Suite allows you to perform various actions like forwarding, dropping, sending to other tools, or selecting the options from the right-click menu. So let's actually go to this particular address that they have for us over here. I feel like it's going to show us something different than what I tried to do with Gmail. So let me just make sure that I have this open, and let's go and close this tab and turn on intercept, and then go back to this here, and then we're just going to paste the IP address that we had over there, and then we're going to go to that. So let me see if I can paste it. I feel like I should be able to paste it by Control V. Okay, there we go. So we have that, and now we can see that it is hanging, or it's frozen, as they say. And then we will go over here, and then now we can see that we actually have the request right here. Excellent. So I click on this one, and this is going to be the request that we see at the bottom right here. And then I can right click on it, and it'll give me a bunch of different things. I can add it to my scope of tracking. I can highlight it. I can do intercept or don't intercept the request for that. I can send it to intruder, repeater, sequencer, organizer, comparer, or in browser. And in browser, it'll actually try to open up its own browser, because Burp Suite actually does have a browser which I forget what is which browser it uses, but I definitely do know that it does have a browser, and it tries to open up its own browser. It won't try to open up the browser that we have in the background there. And that's basically it, right? So this is how we intercept the request, and congratulations, we just saw it. So if we look at the raw HTML, it looks pretty consistent to the other HTML. You can also look at the hexadecimal format of the HTML, and that's basically it. So if I turn off intercept, the actual request in the background will end up going to the test website that we have, which is the Bastion hosting website. And we have our products, about us, in-house experts. I feel like this is what we're going to end up doing later on in our exercise. So I'm not going to jump ahead, and I won't take the steam out of the rest of the exercise. So let's go and look at the sitemap and issue definitions. Under the Target tab in Burp Suite, we get more than just control over the scope of the testing. We have three sub-tabs. We have the sitemap, and it allows us to map out the web application we're targeting in a tree structure. Every page that we visit while the proxy is active will be displayed on the sitemap. This feature enables us to automatically generate a sitemap by simply browsing the web application. And in the professional version of Burp, we can also use the sitemap to perform automated crawling of the target, exploring links between pages and mapping out as much of the site as possible. Even with community, we can still utilize the sitemap to accumulate data during the initial enumeration steps. It is particularly useful for mapping out APIs, as any API endpoint accessed by the web application will be captured in the sitemap. Issue definitions. So Burp community does not include the full vulnerability scanning functionality. We still have access to a list of vulnerabilities that the scanner looks for. Issue definition section provides an extensive list of web vulnerabilities, complete with descriptions and references. And this resource can be valuable for referencing vulnerabilities in reports or assisting in describing a particular vulnerability. Then we have the scope settings that allows us to control the target scope in Burp Suite, and it enables us to include or exclude specific domains or IPs. To define the scope of the testing, by managing the scope, we can focus on the web applications we are specifically targeting and avoid capturing unnecessary traffic. Overall, the Target tab offers features beyond scoping, allows us to map out the application, fine-tune or target a scope, and access a comprehensive list of vulnerabilities for references. So now we're going to look around the site, meaning we're just going to click around, and we're just going to make sure that the proxy is turned on. Not intercept, right? Because if we intercept, we can't do anything. It'll just hang in the background. So as long as the proxy itself is turned on, which is what is going on over here, right? We have FoxyProxy turned on. So now we can just click on these various things, right? I'm technically on the home page, so that's fine. I can click on the about page, and it'll bring this for me. And then we have these guys. These are people. Can I click on any of these people? Oh, I can click on Olivia. Okay, cool. And then let's go and click on Jameson Wolf. Interesting. We can't scroll down. I guess you can, but it just has that bottom menu. And then what else? Let's click on all these people. I'm just going to click around this website real quick. Okay, so that's basically it. I feel like I've clicked on everything that is available to click on, and then all of these buttons basically take us to the same series of pages. And the most interesting one that popped out from the beginning was either the submitting of the ticket, which is under support, or the contact page, which is available here. And both of these are forms that we can submit data through. So now if I go over here and go under the Target tab, we can see that we have a bunch of stuff under here, and especially for this IP address that we just clicked on. So if I open it, we can see that we have the About page, and under the About page, we have these various people who were the individual team members. We have the Assets page that pops up, and then we have the Contact page that has this get contact information, right? So this is the contact information over here. And then we have the ticket page that also allows us to submit a ticket. So these are all interesting tabs for us, I think. So products, privacy, contact, assets, about, and then under assets, we have the JavaScript bootstrap bundle, email filter, and script, so on and so forth. And then there's the CSS, which has an error message for us. And then we have images under executives. These are basically all of the stuff that we have under our sitemap. And if we go to scope, we haven't added anything to scope. And under issue definitions, there's a bunch of stuff that's available, but I don't think any of these things have actually been detected. These are things that can be detected for what we have. So these are the various pages that we have noticed for our sitemap on this specific domain. So now let's go and see what the question is over here. So it says, what is the flag that you should receive after visiting the unusual endpoint? So if we look at the list of the endpoints that we have over here, we have this first page, we have this random series of stuff, and then I feel like this is like the most unusual looking one from what I remember. I think that's the only one. So what we want to do is we want to basically go to this /, which is the path right here. So I can just highlight this, and I can copy it, and then we go to the browser and we can paste it at the end of our domain right here, and that'll be the path that we're going to visit, and we'll see what shows up. So press enter. There's a flag. There's an actual flag on this page, the THM yada yada yada. We highlight that, copy that, and then go over here, and that'll be the answer that we have over here under the flag that we received under that unusual endpoint. And that was it. So very, very easy to essentially create a sitemap for a website by just clicking around, visiting a site, and see what you can find. The Burp Suite browser is the next thing. It's a Chromium browser. That's what it was. That was the name I was trying to remember. It comes as a part of the Burp Suite software. So if you click on Open Browser in the Proxy tab, a Chromium window will pop up, and any requests made in this browser will go through the proxy. There are many settings related to the Burp browser in the project options and user option settings. Make sure that you explore and customize them as needed. If you're running on Burp Suite on Linux as the root user, as we are with the attack box, we may encounter an error preventing the burp from starting due to the inability to create a sandbox environment. So there are two simple solutions. We can either create a user and run Burp Suite on a low privileged account on the Burp browser, or we can go to settings, tools, Burp's browser, and check the allow browser to run without a sandbox. Enabling this will allow you the browser to start without a sandbox. However, please be aware that this option is disabled by default for security reasons. If you choose to enable it, exercise caution, as compromising the browser would grant an attacker access to your entire machine. In the training environment of the attack box, this is unlikely, but it is, use it responsibly. I don't need to use it. So I'll just kind of show you what it would look like if I clicked on it. But we don't really need to use it because we basically have our browser connected to our proxy. So if we go to, I believe it is under Proxy, and then we have the Open Browser button. So we click on the Open Browser button. It'll try to open it, but it says it doesn't support browser running with sandbox enabled. So we're going to go to settings, and then we're going to go to the browser, and then we're going to turn that off, or turn it on, I guess. So it was settings, tools, and Burp's browser. So tools, and then Burp's browser, and then we have the button. Where's the button? So there we go. Allow Burp to run without a sandbox. Turn that on, and then close this off, and then open browser, and let's see if it'll actually open. There you go. That is the browser. And it's a browser, and everything that we do here will just be logged in our proxy under the targets. So we go over here, and this opens it up, uninteresting headers, yada yada yada, and I can go back over here, and I can close this thing out, and then we can go back to Burp Suite, and if we go under target, we should see that we have a new thing that I think it's this one that just showed up. Maybe detect portal Firefox, potentially. Anyways, I don't want to get stuck on this thing and go down the rabbit hole. But we do know that it has a browser. If you don't want to configure your own Chrome browser, for example, or if you don't want to download Firefox, then what you can do is you can just allow Burp's browser to run without a sandbox and just use the Burp Suite Chromium browser that comes pre-installed with Burp Suite. All right, let's talk about scoping and targeting. So as you saw, there was a lot of stuff that showed up under the list of these things right here. So this can get overwhelming very, very quickly. So this is where the scope and the target come in, and scoping as a concept just comes in. By setting a scope for the project, we can define what gets proxied and locked in Burp Suite, and we can restrict Burp Suite to target only the specific web application that we want to test. The easiest way to do this is by switching to the target tab, right-clicking on the target, and then selecting add to scope. And Burp will then prompt us to choose whether we want to stop logging anything that is not in scope. And in most cases, you want to say yes, because you just want to target that one IP address, right? So to check our scope, we can then switch to the scope settings within the target tab. And this will allow you to control the target by scope, including or excluding domain IPs. This section is powerful and worth spending time getting familiar with. Even if we disable logging for out-of-scope traffic, the proxy will still intercept everything. To prevent this, you need to go to the proxy settings subtab and select and URL is in the target scope from the intercept client request. So as one of the rules, we need to say and the URL should be in target scope so that it stops capturing everything that has to do with that. And then same thing for the response, and URL is in target scope so that it stops capturing any of the responses other than the URL that's actually in the target scope. So in this example, the target scope that they're talking about is the TryHackMe. So if they went to scope settings, you can see that their target scope is TryHackMe. So it would only show requests and responses that have to do with the TryHackMe domain name. And that's basically it. So enabling this option ensures that the proxy completely ignores any traffic that is not within that target scope, resulting in a cleaner traffic view in Burp Suite. So we're going to add this to the scope and change the proxy settings to only intercept traffic to in scope, and then see the difference between the amount of traffic getting caught by the proxy before and after limiting the scope. So we're going to go over here. We're going to take this guy. Let me just zoom in for you a little bit. We're going to right click on this one. We're going to add it to scope. And then it's going to say, hey, you've added this to scope. Answering yes will avoid accumulating data for out of scope items. And I say, yes, I do want to avoid everything else. And then now we're going to go to the scope itself. And then this is our target scope. So very good. We have that. So we're going to go to proxy now, go to proxy settings. And then under our listeners, we're going to go under the request option. And then we're going to say, and we want the URL to be in the target scope. And for the response, we also want the URL to be in target scope. And that's basically it. That's how you set that up. And now you only have the target that is only available for that specific thing. Now, we still have a good amount of resources that are available over here. So these things are still going to be over here unless I manually remove Gmail from here, right? So I can delete the host from here and then it should no longer show up. But essentially, for the most part, unless you really need to, you don't need to do any of that stuff. And then everything that happens from now on is only going to be related to this specific target in the scope. And that's basically what we wanted anyways. So that's how you do it. That's how you create a target in your scope. You just right click on it and then you say add to scope. And it'll say, are you sure? And you say, yes, I don't want anything else to be added to my scope. And then you go into your proxy settings and you just make sure that the rules for your request and the rules for the response say that the URL is in the target scope. So you want whatever the rule was previously, and you want the URL to be in target scope, and you want the URL to be in target scope. And that's basically it. So now let's proxy HTTPS. Now in my particular case, because I'm using the attack box, it's already configured to solve this problem if that the problem that's been posed in this particular task. If you're not using the attack box, then it's probably a good idea to go through this. So I'm just going to keep going through go through it with you. When you intercept HTTP traffic, you may encounter an issue when navigating to sites that have TLS enabled. For example, when accessing a site like google.com, you may receive an error indicating that Port Swigger Certificate Authority is not authorized to secure the connection. And this happens because the browser does not trust the certificate presented by Burp Suite. So this is what you would usually see. And then you can click on Advanced and you can say Proceed anyways. And you would be able to do that for the most part. But this is kind of what happens when you have a certificate authority that is not trusted by Google because it's not on their list of trusted certificate authorities. So to overcome this, we can manually add Port Swigger to the browser's list of trusted certificate authorities. And then you would download the CA certificate. So with the Burp proxy activated, you would navigate to burp/cert. And then you will download a file called cacert.der. And then you would save this anywhere on your machine so that you can upload it later. And then you go to Access Firefox Certificate Settings by going to About Preferences inside of Firefox. And then you press Enter and it'll take you to the Firefox settings page. You can also just go from the menu that's in the top right of Firefox. But you could basically just go to About:Preferences and then search for certificates and click on the View Certificates button. This is what you would see over here. And then you would import that file that you just downloaded from the Port Swigger website, this file that you downloaded from the burp/cert, okay? Then once you've selected it, once you've imported it, you click set this button, trust this CA to identify websites. And then you click OK. And then by completing this, you've added the Port Swigger Certificate Authority certificate to your list of trusted certificate authorities. And now you should be able to actually access Google or anything that is requiring that specific certificate authority, like an HTTPS website. So any HTTPS website typically has that as an issue, that if they don't recognize your certificate authority, you need to actually add that certificate authority so you can go access that HTTPS website. Now, again, all of this has been done for me on the attack box that I'm using. So in the event that you're using your own computer and you want to do this, you would just go through these instructions. So you could just essentially just rewind this video and go back through those instructions and you'd be able to do it. And that's pretty much it. That's how you access HTTPS websites. So let's go through our example attack here. All right, so as our example attack, here's what we're gonna do, okay? So we go to the example or this website that we have over here. And let me just make sure that intercept is turned off real quick. And it is turned off. Okay, excellent. So basically this is what we're trying to do, right? So there's something that can be done on a client, so which is our web browser, right? So we have the support ticket page right here. And then if I try to do anything inside of the support ticket that is XSS, so for example, an XSS script starts with the this little squiggly button. So you see, as soon as I put it, I forget what they're called. I just call it the less than symbol, but that's basically how things start. And then even if I try to do it over here, I think it'll also block it off over here. No, this actually will allow it. So this is basically what that looks like, right? So a script will start with this, and then you would put whatever your script is, and then it will be closed out with that script tag, right? So usually this is what a script looks like. It starts with a script tag and then it ends with a script tag. But if I try to do it inside the contact email, it automatically just deletes it because it's part of the filtering that they have on the client side. So I literally can't even type that if I wanted to, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to capture this request. And then from here, we're going to modify it. And then we're going to include the script that we want to include and then submit it. And then we'll be able to get to see that script run. Okay. So first thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead to my proxy here. I'm going to turn intercept on, and it's going to be great because we only have this website added to our scope. And now I'm just going to do a, pentester@thm.com. And then we'll say this is the script, blah, blah, even though that's really not the script. And then we just submit the query. And now this is going to hang, right? It's not going to actually submit anything. It's not going to do anything. So now I can go to my Burp suite right here. And my lovely Burp suite has captured my request. Excellent. And it is on the ticket portion of the domain, and it's down here. And then I can go ahead and look at the email. You see, so email is pentester@thm.com, and this is Unicode. I think it's like base 64, something like that. So the %40 is the equivalent of the @ symbol. And then this is the message. So this is the script, blah, blah. So that's it, right? So what we're going to do is now we're going to add this script. So this piece right here, this is what we're going to add to our request that we captured. So we'll, the same way that we just did it right here, we will just go and in the email section, we're just going to paste the script, and then that's basically it. And then from here, you will, I think we're just going to forward the request, right? So let me just make sure that we've done it. If I submit the query, let me see what the next thing would be. Yeah, press the forward button to send the request, and you should find an alert box on the page showing that the alert has been done. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm just going to paste that little piece that we copied from the other page. And let me find the paste button. Where's the paste? There we go, paste. So there we go. So the script is now here, right? So now I have this full script that's available over here. And now I'm just going to go and click the forward button to be able to submit my request. And then so if we go over here, let's see if this actually works here. Boom, there we go. I had to click forward twice. And there it is. Successful XSS was actually submitted because we modified the request in the background, and now it actually printed that little alert. And all it was that it's just printing an alert onto the screen. That's what the XSS script does in this particular case. It's nothing crazy, but now you know that you can actually capture something and submit the XSS request or the XSS script, whatever it is, cross-site scripting, right? That's basically how you do it. As long as you know what the script is, as long as you know how to do cross-site scripting, if you know how to create JavaScript, then that's basically it. It's really that simple, right? So that was our successful exercise. Hopefully you were able to pull that off on your end. And you don't have access to this machine, unfortunately, because this is like a target machine that was designed just for this exercise for TryHackMe. So you can try to do it with your own domain name if you have one, or you can just sign up for TryHackMe. It's not very expensive. There's a discount link in the description below that makes it even cheaper. I think they give you $5 off, so it'll be like $7 a month or something like that. So that was basically it. Like really easy to do, right? Pretty awesome little exercise. All right, so that was it. So in conclusion, congratulations on completing the Burp Suite basics. You now have a solid understanding of what it actually is. This is literally just scratching the surface, okay? So I don't want you to think, I mean, you already saw how many different things that there are that you can do. So this is not even remotely close to the total of what you can do with Burp Suite. But that was a nice little like introduction, I think. That was like a nice little introductory course to Burp Suite and just setting it up, and then getting just some of your basic settings, like for example your proxy and all of that, getting ready to go. So I hope you learned from this video. I think if you've never used Burp Suite before, I think this is a perfect way to see what it actually is and the potential of what you can do. And you just saw it with that practical exercise that we ran with that script, that JavaScript. So that was pretty cool, and I hope you got some really fun value out of it. If you did indeed get value out of this video, I will encourage you to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so that you get notified the next time that a video comes out, especially in the CySec101 playlist that we got going on. And I do have Network Plus that's going to be coming up in the next week or two. So that's going to be another really strong training series that's going to come in. We have Linux Plus that's already on here. I do have Security Plus that recently was just uploaded as well. So I do bring like really big training series that are available, and then we do a bunch of stuff on TryHackMe, and then there's going to be an AI course that's right around the corner as well. I just wanted to make sure that we got Network Plus for everybody, because networking is very, very important. As you just saw, like everything that we were just doing in those web requests, that's technically a part of networking. So all of that stuff is super, super important. So definitely make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on notification bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions. If you want anything to be clarified, notified. If you just want to say hi, if you just want to say thanks, definitely make sure you drop a comment. And you can also say thanks by supporting this channel and joining Hackaholics Anonymous, which is the premier community for security professionals and hackers. We have 4 tiers: the supporter, agent, guardian, and master, and each tier gets their own Discord server and early access to content. The agent, guardian, and master levels get exclusive content, exclusive downloads, monthly Python automations, live streams with me every single month, plus so much more. And to join, you can simply click the link in the description below, or you can go to our homepage and click the join button there, or you can go to youtube.com/@HankHacksHackers/join, and you'll be able to join Hackaholics Anonymous. I hope I see you in the Discord servers. If not, I hope at the very least I see you in the comment section, and that's it. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker/protector. Love, peace, and chicken grease. If no one else loves you, Hank loves you, and I will see you in the next video later.